Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Video Game Tips and Tricks. Today we're going to take a look at basic system restoration. We're basically just going to clean the system, try to get it to work a little bit better. Nothing too super complicated, but it's going to help you in the long run. Trust me, these are things that you learn slowly and it can get kind of annoying. So today's example system is going to be the N64. This isn't the dirtiest console I've ever seen, but it is worse for wear. There's a lot of little dings. It's got dirt all on the letterings and shit. But yeah, it plays fine right now. So yeah, there's no problem with that. But we're gonna take a look at making. We're gonna take a shot at making it look better. Things you're gonna need include good old-fashioned water. Mine's in a cup because I don't have a sink next to my desk. Funnily enough. Next up, I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and then you're going to need some sort of card, one of those plastic cards, kind of like a credit card, but don't use a credit card because they have embossed letters, and we don't want that for what we're using this for. Some sort of microfiber cloth, a disgusting old grimy toothbrush, preferably not all of the things I just said, Armor All. Some people advise against that, and I'll tell you why, but I personally like it. Some compressed air, and some paper towels. First up, what you're going to want to do with the cartridge-based systems is clean the pin connector right there. That'll just give it a little extra push, help it play the games a little bit better. So what I do is I open up the cartridge slot, shake my compressed air, and just go over it a couple times. That just gets all the heavy stuff out of it. Sometimes there's large pieces of dust in your pin connector, which is bad. And then always use compressed air first because if you're going to use this is pushed down into your pin connector, and if there's something in there, something big, it'll just get pushed down farther. So use the compressed air first. Then take this and just put the cloth over the card and push it down into the pin connector. And sometimes you won't actually see anything, and other times you'll see a ton of dust and dirt come out. So it really depends. So just do it a couple times. Sometimes the cards don't always fit. I recommend trimming it if you can, if it's not that important of a card. So now it's time for the physical appearance of the console. Next up, we're going to go at it with a small piece of Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. I usually just use this to get rid of marks of like paint and permanent marker, stuff that's hard to get off, really hard grime that won't come off white systems per se. So here, we'll look at this. There's nothing too bad, but if you look right there, there's a little permanent marker, so I'm just going to go at it. And it's gone. A little bit right here too. Now, this stuff, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, it's actually a little tiny bit abrasive, so I would avoid like heavy use, especially on textured consoles. It'll make smooth spots, which nobody likes, but it works for what we're using it for. So if you're scared of using it, don't use it, but if you think you can handle it, go ahead and try it. Of course, next up we have the basic cleaning, which most people like using Q-tips for, just for the small areas. Q-tips and a wet paper towel. What I like using is the toothbrush that I told you about earlier. I find it's a little bit rougher, not too rough. It depends what kind of toothbrush you have. So it really gets at the grime on the console. And then when it comes to like air vents in the console, I don't know why I just did that. Air vents in the console, it'll really get down there and clean it. It's really helpful. If your system's a little bit more fragile, has like decals on it, like that Mr. Pac-Man right there, you of course wouldn't want to go at it with this, it would take it off. But for systems like the N64, the Sega Saturn, stuff like that, it's pretty safe. It's not going to rip anything off because it's all solid plastic. So let's get started with that. Once you're done with that, you're of course going to want to dry off the system, I just use paper towels, of course, wipe off the excess, and then I usually go at the vents with a little compressed air. It just gets all the excess water out. When you're doing this, a little water might get on the actual board itself, but don't freak out. As long as you're not stupid and you don't dunk this thing in water, it's gonna work still. You just gotta let it dry out a little bit. You don't want to like plug it in right after you clean it. I don't know. It depends how you clean it. If you do it this way, of course, let it dry off a little bit. You're not gonna destroy your console, so calm down. So next step that I use is, of course, Armor All. I just totally hit my N64 like a genius. Anyway, I use Armor All. What it does is it shines up the plastic and actually protects it according to Armor All themselves. Some people advise me against it to say it's bad for plastic, but you can use whatever you want to use. I use this because it's easy, and so far it has had no effects. I know that's not really looking into the future, but oh well. You can use this if something happens. Sorry, it's not really intended, but it worked really well. So let's see how that looks. Well, guys, that's just about it. If you have any other tips and tricks on cleaning consoles, leave them in the comments. This wasn't the best example for the techniques I use. This kind of techniques work a lot better on consoles like the 7800, the ColecoVision consoles with textures like that. This has got more of a smooth texture, which doesn't work with the whole Armor All technique, but it does look nice, it looks better. I actually missed a spot right there, which I'm pretty embarrassed about, but shh, you guys don't notice that. Anyway. So yeah, it's not the greatest example, but it definitely looks better. I promise you, if you use it on systems with more of a texture, it'll probably look better, but that's all for today's episode.